Charlotte, and surrounding areas. Welcome to another week of Under Construction. I am Kaiser Solsay. To my, well, if you're looking at me, to my right, I do that every week. My right, the Angry Black Man, Jamal Darby. Our brother Rodney is chilling in Florida at the 24 hours of Daytona. Just living it up in the sun, posting up crazy IG stories. Iguana falling from trees.
Meanwhile, we're here in 40 degrees Charlotte watching this terrible basketball today.
It's cold outside. It's cold as hell outside.
The Hornets shot, they cold.
The Charlotte Hornets, since the last time you saw us, have gone 2-3 in that stretch, with low lights such as losing to the Atlanta Hawks and Toronto Raptors, highlights such as blowing Indiana back into the Stone Age and pulling out a close game against the LeBron-less Los Angeles Lakers, and then crashing back to earth today with a 25-point blowout loss to Los Angeles Clippers, who had nobody that I recognize on the court. Well, Justice Winslow and Luke Kennard. That was about it. The rest of these cats, I don't know. I don't know who they were.
Yeah.
You know?
Who is Coffee? Who is that? Who
that guy is? Yeah. Some
I don't know.
Who was the 51st pick in the draft was dunking all over us.
I didn't know Justice Winslow was still in the league.
I know he's still in the league. So yeah, so your thoughts on the week in general. We'll talk about each individual game, but in general.
Yeah. In general, man, the Hornets are always a weird team to kind of discuss week to week because you never know what Hornets team you're going to get. And some days they look like a 50-win team, and other days it look like they're going to barely sneak into the play-in game. I will say this, man. The losses to Atlanta and Toronto were a little disappointing, and I wanted those games to be at least a little more competitive. Again, we'll get the game to game, but this week, man, it was classic Hornets. You know what I mean? Indiana, we scored 158 against Indiana. We almost blow one to the Lakers, man. We had them up 20, man, and we got lackadaisical. Today was awful, and we look like a young team overall. That's probably the best way I can summarize it. We look like the fourth youngest team in the league over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, here's what's super disappointing about this week. None of those teams had a winning record.
Right.
When we played them. None of them. And this is the Hornets have had a really tough schedule to begin the season. They played the most Western Conference teams out of any team in the East. They played the most road games. They have the third hardest strength of schedule. Now the schedule is lightening up. Our next, before the beginning of this week, our next 9 games were against teams that were either at 500 or below. I mean, it's like finally we get some easy games, and we go 2-3 against 5 teams that don't even have a winning record.
And look, to be a bit fair, Atlanta came to the game. I think at that point they had won 4 in a row, maybe 3, something like that. To be fair, so Atlanta, I guess we kind of caught a bit of a hot team at the time. The Toronto game again, man, we had guys out, but the fact that they didn't have Fred VanVleet and Scotty Barnes and still handled us pretty well, man. Still pretty disappointing, man. Not to jump too far ahead, but I'm looking at this schedule in February, brother. February is going to tell us who we are, and I'll keep it at that for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in these losses, the problem is that, one, people are going to hate to hear this, but Gordon Hayward has not played.
Wait, time out, Kaiser. Because somebody told me that when we beat an Indiana team with half their roster out, with literally half their roster out, we didn't need Gordon Hayward. We were fine. That's what somebody told me.
Yeah, I think it's clear what we're missing from
Low.
Gordon Hayward. Games like today, the offense was just in disarray. To be fair, the Clippers are a really good defensive team, and they're the best 3-point shooting defense team in terms of defense in the league. The Hornets are the best 3-point shooting team in the league. They're going to have to meet in the middle somewhere. A guy like Gordon Hayward, I noticed, sometimes he calms the offense down. Sometimes the Hornets need to slow down. I mean, it's great to see LaMelo Ball flying down the court with his hair on fire, but sometimes you need a guy who can just score in the half court.
Kaza, we get accused of thinking of agreeing too much, man. But let me say this, dude. I will not understand how somebody can look at the Hornets the last 5 games and you say to yourself, "Nah, we don't need Gordon Hayward." Like somebody would have to, and I'm not even trying to be like facetious or sarcastic when I'm saying this, dude. Like you look at today, and before today, Coach Borrego had a quote out there. He was saying like Gordon Hayward is the adult on the court, and meaning that a lot of the times that offense looks jagged, it looks unorganized. We play a little bit. We play kind of street ballers sometimes, for lack of a better term. And today was the prime example of that, man. And on top of that, we needed Gordon Hayward's playmaking. Sometimes Gordon Hayward's his shot disappoints us. Sometimes the basket making isn't what we want it to be from him. But more importantly, what we need from him is playmaking. We can't have LaMelo Ball being the only one out there that can get his own shot and make it plays. Terry Rozier's not that. He's a catch and shoot guy. That's what his strength is. We need another playmaker out there to create not only his own shot, but create shots for his teammates. And today was ugly. Offensively, it was pretty terrible, man. And we missed him sorely today.
Yeah, and the fact that Cody Martin is spelling for him, first of all, I love Cody Martin, and I think he's going to get a deal. Hornets going to make him a deal in the offseason to keep him. But he has not looked the same since coming back from COVID.
Right.
Offensively or defensively, although he did a really good job on Russell Westbrook until he fouled out on Friday night. But offensively, which was the big step that Cody Martin had taken this season, it's just not there. Gordon Hayward averages 18 points a game, and when you put Cody Martin in there, first of all, you're not going to get 18 points a game from Cody Martin, but at least you can say, okay, we're going to get a guy who can stretch the floor and shoot the three. And he hasn't shot well since coming back from COVID. It's been tough. I think offensively, that's one of the Hornets' biggest problems in these losses.
And remember last season with Cody Martin, man, like me and you kind of shared the same sentiment. Like when he had the ball, it's like, oh my God, just don't turn it over. Don't do anything stupid with the ball. And I hate to say this, man, he's kind of regressed a little bit with his playmaking, which makes Gordon Hayward's what's the word I'm looking for? Which makes Gordon Hayward that much more important for us to have. Because look, the sloppiness and the turnovers and the lack of organization in offense, man, it's other than the Indiana game, it's really showed itself. And also we're obviously missing Kelly Oubre as well. We don't want to not mention that as well too. So
it's very telling that in the three Hornets losses, they did not meet their season scoring average of 114 points. They didn't reach it in any of those. Obviously they couldn't do what they do best, and we're not talking about like killer defenses they played against here, although the Clippers have a really good defense. And yes, missing Kelly Oubre, especially after the Indiana game where it looked like he just could not miss. I think that may have hurt us in both the LA games and against the Lakers and the Clippers. We could have used Kelly Oubre. We certainly could have used him.
Absolutely. And look, man, I mean, sometimes we can analyze all we want to, man, but at the end of the day, the NBA is a make or miss league. And quite simply, we didn't make shots today. And I was telling before we went on the air, man, like we could learn a lot from this Clippers team. And, what I mean by that is that just they play the same way no matter who's out there. They have this really good offensive system. That ball was moving. on the other end of the ball, on the defensive end, they're very good perimeter. They're very good on defensively on the perimeter as well. They disrupted us so much today, man. We didn't know what to do in pick and roll situations. Miles Plumlee was not good today, but I do want to say he's had a pretty good week. Today, he was not good at all today, man. And they put him in some tough situations in that pick and roll. So, again, if we're striving to be the team we want to be in the next 2 or 3 seasons, I will look at that Clippers team, and I really like to give the other team credit, I like what I saw from them today.
Yeah, a lot of fight from the Clippers. We've seen that we saw it against Indiana at the beginning of the season. Frank Vogel got all the starters. The bench came in, but we've also seen our team do that.
Yeah,
we've seen JB say to guys, "Hey, starters ain't getting it done." Ish Smith comes in and has a great game.
But Kelly Oubre, once again, man, that's a big loss to recover from that bench, man. If Ish Smith doesn't have it going, and you don't have Kelly Oubre and PJ Washington can't hit a shot, that's an uphill battle, man. I don't know how we recover from that.
I actually levy some criticism towards JB here. In the Atlanta game, Hornets shot 11% from 3-point range.
Yeah,
it just wasn't
falling.
One gun happened, okay?
Right.
And they shot poorly against the Raptors as well. And then Indiana came and the Hornets almost broke a league record for 3-pointers.
Right.
So JB obviously says to the guys, keep shooting. The shots are falling. Right. He even said that after the Atlanta game in the press conferences. Hey, keep shooting. The shots are falling.
They'll fall. Right.
I'm not a fan of that approach. And I know that JB, since he's come to the Hornets, has always been like, look, we want to run the floor. We want to shoot threes. That's what we want to do because that is the current NBA. And to his credit, the Hornets are the best in the league at doing that. They're the best in the league at scoring. They're the best in the league at shooting threes. The best in the league in terms of pace and running the floor. But if the shots aren't falling, you gotta have a plan B. You got it. And when you're shooting 11% against a team that is below 500 and you're losing, you got to switch it up. You got to do something else. And you can't. And I think sometimes players have too much of a green light. As much as I love LaMelo Ball and I love Terry Rozier, dog, if you're down
the shot selection makes you shake your head sometimes.
If you're down 2 and it's 20 seconds in the shot clock, why are you shooting a 3? Why are you pulling up from the logo? LaMelo Ball? Why are you doing that?
Right. Terry, why are you shooting off balance when you got a guy draped all over you? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm glad you made that point because early in the season, I think before the season, when we had Jerry Valancourt on, man, we talked about a point that he made actually was he would like to see, and I made the same point, was we would both like to see the Hornets be kind of chameleons a little bit. And what we meant by that was they live and die by that 3 too much, to your point. You know what I mean? And offensively, you got to have some variety. But here's my counterpoint to that, Kaiser. And I think this is a fair point to make. We want the Hornets to kind of be chameleons and to kind of change identity sometimes. But think about it. Do they really have a choice? And here's what I mean by that. Other than Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball, and maybe you throw Miles Bridges in here, there's not a lot of guys who get their own shot. On top of that, we don't have a low post threat. You get what I'm saying? There's not a guy you can just pass the ball to the guy down low and say, hey, man, go get me a basket. So my question is, do we really have a choice as far as being anything than what we are?
That's true. And, JB has mentioned that. I mean, we talked about this before the season began where JB came out and was somewhat – he wasn't directly critical of Mitch, but he was essentially like, hey, I don't have a center. What are y'all doing about? I've had this problem for almost 4 years now, and I'm just doing what I can. So I understand that sometimes it's a game plan thing, but the problem is that when the Hornets, when their primary offensive game plan of run the court and shoot threes doesn't work, then
you got to do something else.
They don't have a fallback.
And look, whether it's fair or not, as a coach, you got to figure it out.
Yes, JB's got to figure it out. I do think that JB is not. First of all, he's not as critical on the players as people think he is. He's not. I'm sorry. There was a point in the LA game, not today, but Friday's game, it ended up being a very close game at the end. And LaMelo pulls up from the logo with like 22 seconds left in the shot clock.
Which goes crazy. Yeah,
he misses, and then Russell Westbrook goes right down to the other end and scores on the layup.
Right.
So, and it's like, okay, you got to pull dude aside and be like, hey, we didn't need that because
it's not the time for that.
And the thing is, LaMelo Ball, he could score going to the basket. So why wouldn't you do that? Sometimes I think JB, like I said, he gives the players too much of a green light, too much of a green light. I think times like that, you got to say to the guys, look, guys, we don't need this bad shot selection. Because we already know that y'all not going to play defense. So,
but look, man, I hate to bang this drum, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that's why he calls Gordon Hayward the adult on the floor.
To be fair, I've never seen Gordon Hayward make a bad shot selection late in the game. He's made some shots that didn't fall that people weren't happy with, but they weren't necessarily bad shots.
Right,
shots that didn't fall.
Right.
Extended free throw jump shot against a smaller guy. That's the kind of shot that you want to take late in the game, not pulling up from 35 feet away, and which is just such a low percentage shot. So, those are the things you get from a guy. But at the same time, that's kind of stuff I expect to see from Terry as well.
Yeah,
Terry Rozier will make those same kind of questionable shots, and I think that's because Terry believes, but he believes in it, especially fourth quarter. Hey, I'm gonna make this shot.
I mean, look, there's a lot of times, man, I kind of think Terry Rozier and Kelly Oubre are pretty much the same guy, and both of them have. And I say this affectionately. I'm not trying to be critical when I say this, but both Terry and Kelly have what I call irrational confidence, meaning they think they can make any shot. No matter how bad the shot is, no matter the time and situation, they're always going to have confidence in themselves to shoot those shots. Now, when they go in, it's great. Like, oh my God, we love them when they go in. But when you're getting beat by, when you're down 6 and you need that critical score with 3 minutes to go, you want to take a smarter shot, man. And that's kind of where we're going with this criticism. They need to be chameleons. But again, I ask the same question, man. Not a lot of options, man. It's not like we have that guy where you just say, hey, man, go get us a bucket. So who knows?
And the fact that, the Hornets just are not good on defense doesn't help. When the offense isn't clicking, we're not exactly going to stop teams from doing what they want to do. And
which is
for disaster. And that's not going to bode well for the playoffs, because the Hornets will they'll certainly make the play-in. Whether or not they make the playoffs is a different story. But if they do make the playoffs proper, that's just not gonna work. So,
I want to say this again. I want to make this point one more time, man. Looking at the Clippers today and looking at where the Hornets are in this process, and we have a lot of young guys. We know that. And these young guys have to learn what true professionalism on the court is. Professionalism starts off the court too. It starts in the film room. It starts in practice. It starts with those little things that you don't feel like doing from day to day. The reason I bring this up, man, because I'm looking at the Clippers, and you can tell that they're there. I mean, look at the experience on the Clippers versus the experience for the Hornets, and it's like to me today was like a microcosm of what we want to be versus where we are.
Yep, absolutely. It's young team problems too. I mean, sometimes we forget, and I said this in the Facebook game thread, but I didn't mean it facetiously. A lot of people, because I'm always telling jokes in the game thread, people think I was probably joking, but I wasn't. The Hornets, obviously, they stayed out late last night.
Look like it.
It's Saturday night. You beat LA. In a national game the night before at home, you got $5 million in your bank account, and you got a game the next day at 1 p.m. What are you doing? What
are you doing?
They came out. They looked lackadaisical. They looked like they even Book Night got a good run of minutes, but even he looked like he was like sleepy.
Sleepwalking.
Yeah,
The whole team looked like they were sleep.
yeah.
And look, and as soon as the Clippers said, you know what, they don't want to win today, they turned it on and the game was over.
Exactly. And that was the difference. And young team problems. You got
look. So I want to talk about something that's going to raise your blood pressure a little bit. I want to talk about this game versus the Raptors, and there was one glaring thing that I noticed with the Toronto Raptors game. You're not going to like this, man. But I'm looking at Siakam, I'm looking at Achua, Onanabe, and Chris Boucher. I'm looking at those four players, right? Those are long, rangy front court dudes.
You mean like Jalen McDaniels?
You mean like Jalen McDaniels? Exactly. You knew exactly where I was going with this.
Okay. I've said this before. I see why James Borrego likes Jalen McDaniels for all the reasons that you just mentioned. He's long, he's rangy. He can actually play well on both sides of the floor. It's just that sometimes, and he's young to be fair, he makes the wrong basketball decision, and I don't think he's got
a lot of times.
Yeah, he doesn't have the best basketball IQ compared to his peers on the floor, and I think that hurts him, and that sometimes in the rotations that he's in, it hurts. But having said that, I mean, we're probably missing him this last few stretch of games.
But I think we really missed him this particular game, and not only just him, but we missed Hayward too, man, because their front court, again, man, they're long, they're physical, they're quick, and the only matchups we had for them was Plumlee and Washington, and those are horrible matchups for both of those guys. So I think that was the difference in that game, man. We had no answer for Siakam, Achua, Boucher, or Anunoby, dude, and that was pretty much it, in my opinion.
Yeah, you gave up 125 points to the Raptors.
And Gary Trent, I'm sorry, and Gary Trent looked like freaking Tracy McGrady that game too.
And the Hornets offensively didn't play that bad. They didn't meet their season average of 114, but they scored 113 points. Bridges put up 22 points. LaMelo Ball had 25. James Bouknight had 18. Oubre and Rozier didn't put up great games, and PJ Washington has been MIA of late. But defensively, you got no way of stopping, like you said, Siakam and Anunoby, who had 24 points apiece.
Yeah,
those two guys get 24 points. You're just not going to
win. Right. It's that simple, man. And PJ Washington, dude, I don't know what he needs to do. We forget PJ Washington got ejected for that Raptors game, man. But other than that game, I don't know what he needs to do to start knocking down shots. Maybe he needs to take the braids out again and wear the fro. Whatever, dude. And
every player that has gone into health and safety protocols has not been the same when they come out of it. I don't know if that's the case for other teams, but I know with the Hornets that seems to be the case. Even LaMelo Ball, when he came out of health and safety protocols,
he struggled a bit.
He struggled a bit for the first 2 games, but he's young and he's got a lot of energy and he looks back to his old self. Kelly Oubre had a great game coming out of health and safety protocols, but then slumped a little after that. I think that, it's just taking a while for these guys to get back into basketball shape. When you're in health and safety protocols, you're not going to the gym. You're not, you're losing your basketball win for the week or so that you're not playing ball. So I think maybe that's all that it is with PJ and Cody. But what really sucks is that this is happening against teams the Hornets should be beating.
Right.
The problem is, we had a stretch
especially with teams like the Raptors who are right on us. You know what I mean? Like there's just not much separation. You got to win those games, man.
Because they're right behind us in the standings. Same with Boston. We got to beat Boston. You have to beat Boston. Losing, and as much as I loved the fact that we beat the Lakers, it would have been preferable to lose to them and beat
Toronto.
Beat Toronto or Atlanta or Boston coming up, because those tiebreakers are going to be very important when it comes to playoff standing time. So,
yeah, this Eastern Conference, man, it's so muddled, dude. The parity in the Eastern Conference is crazy, and we got 3 more months, 2.5 more months to go. So all these games that that these teams are right around us, dude, we gotta get those. It is of the utmost importance, man. Well, let's talk more about this Lakers game, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna say it's crazy. We had two really good games sandwiched in between some crap performances. The Indiana game, was historic, literally.
Yeah.
And the Lakers game was must-see TV.
Let me say this, man. We beat the Lakers, but I wasn't super impressed. I got to be honest, dude. A W is a W. If you're the Charlotte Hornets, you will take a win however you can get it, because we know, our playoff situation is going to be tight. So I'll take a win as much as we can get it. However, I do not like blowing a 20-point lead to a washed-up Russell Westbrook, who played like old MVP Russell Westbrook, who don't have much depth, no AD, no LeBron, and I felt like this was a Hornets team who regressed again and once again played down to the competition. What are your thoughts, man?
I don't know if I'd say that, only because the first half, the Hornets played like the better team. They played like they were the more talented team. I'll say that. I mean, they started the game on a 20-3 run.
Yeah, right.
They came out looking like, hey, we got a stake. They knew it was a national game. They knew everyone was going to be watching this game. LA, and LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo was pumped up too.
Right. They came out, looking like they were going to make a statement. And the Lakers kind of evened it up, and the Lakers did something, and I think this is what ended up being the story of the game. The Lakers did something they normally don't do, and that is let Russell Westbrook be Russell Westbrook.
Be Russell Westbrook. Yep.
Hey, dog, just give him the ball and get out of the way. And
which he was allowed to do, because you don't have
if everyone remembers, the reason the Hornets missed the playoffs last season was because the final game of the season against the Washington Wizards.
The Wizards, yep.
We lost because Russell Westbrook was Russell Westbrook. Yep. And they ended up winning that game and knocking us all the way down into the play-in game. So it was the same thing Friday night, and the Hornets really didn't have an answer for it. Cody Martin actually did a pretty decent job of staying in front of Russell Westbrook, but then he fouled out, and then Russell Westbrook decided to start hitting threes. So he only hits threes against the Hornets.
I swear to dude.
And he was getting some open looks. They were running some screens for him. He was able to shoot off the screen, and he made it a close game. I'm going to instead applaud the Hornets for not falling apart at the end. I think they made they took some smart shots, except for that LaMelo Ball logo 3. But I thought that they said, hey, man, we cannot lose this game on national TV. And they did what they had to do to win that game. Although, I mean, it could have come down to, if Russell Westbrook hits that 3, it's a different story, but I knew he wouldn't hit it. In fact, I was praying, please let Russell Westbrook ISO against Miles Bridges beyond the 3-point line, because I know he's going to do that little hezzy jab step.
That heavy jab step.
I was like, we won.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, it worked out for us. But you much rather have Russell Westbrook pull up and take that 3 than attack the basket and put pressure on that defense, man.
And get fouled with an and-1. That's what I was afraid was going to happen.
Right.
But
now if we had a center that we could trust, but it would have been a different story.
It's weird, because you look at the box score, and Plumlee had really
14 boards.
He had a good game. He really did.
17 rebounds. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 17 rebounds, 8.6 assists. He did not look terrible. He was 3 from 4 from the field, but he's a turnstile defensively. He did not want to challenge. We saw this today in the Clippers game. He didn't want to challenge people driving to the basket for some reason. He was not going to challenge Russell Westbrook, and Westbrook knew that, and so he just kept taking it to him.
Yeah, right.
And that's going to be a problem come playoff time, honestly, which is weird.
And let me cut you off real quick. Here's what scares me about that. We've seen that 2 games in a row. You think these other teams are not looking at this same film like, here's the weakness.
Yeah. And what's weird is Plumlee will challenge centers,
but he won't challenge guards.
I don't get it. Like, everyone's like, man, Giannis gonna kill us when we play. Giannis has had some great games against the Hornets, but we win those. We win those games.
We win those games.
We beat Giannis twice. We beat Joel Embiid.
Listen, isn't it funny how we beat not Clint Capella, but Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, guys who are supposed to kill us? We win those games, but teams that don't have much of a center presence, that's what we have problems with. It's puzzling.
And on the Lakers SB Nation page in their game thread, they were like, "Why don't we just bring Dwight Howard in?" They were wondering why they weren't playing Dwight Howard because DeAndre Jordan wasn't having a good game,
right?
And they didn't need Dwight Howard because Russell Westbrook was just going to take it right to Plumlee.
I mean, pretty much, man.
Every time. So that's
and the LA fans, I can answer that question for you, man, because if you want to talk about a turnstile defensively, we saw that a good amount here, buddy. That's why he's not here anymore. So there's your answer.
You know what, though? I would take Dwight Howard right now.
However, he could come back here over Plumlee now.
Yeah, he could come back. If the contract he's getting with LA, he can come back and do that. But that was a win over. I would have preferred to win with LeBron James playing, but I'll take a win, especially over Western Conference team, especially over LA. Anyway, I did it because Charlotte LA fans were very, very quiet.
I wonder why. Because they're usually so passionate. I haven't
seen them since. It's crazy.
I haven't seen them all season. Actually,
no. Wouldn't it be something if LA could realistically miss the playoffs? Just miss it outright.
There's a lot of my friends who have to delete their Facebook accounts if that happens. I'll be waiting.
Real quick, before I want to talk a little bit about playoffs. Something that's been on my mind. But next week, when you guys see it again, the Hornets will play Boston on Wednesday. They have 2 days off, play Boston on Wednesday, and then they have a day off, and they play Cleveland on Friday and Miami on Saturday. Those are 3 tough games. 2 of those games are against teams that are above us in the standings. Boston is below us in the standings, but Boston is always a coin flip. We split with them so far this season. How do you think next week goes?
I'm going 1-2, man. I think Boston probably wants some get back for last game because we handled them pretty well, and they couldn't buy a basket last game. So I think they want some get back. I actually think we beat Cleveland at home for some strange reason. I think them not having Rubio is a big deal. He always kills us for some reason, but he's not there. Colin Sexton's out, man. Now, to be fair, they have kept it rolling even through these injuries. Jared Allen is like Wilt Chamberlain against us, but I look back at the last game Cleveland beat us, and I think if we make some slight adjustments, we can get them at home this time. And I think Miami gets us because Miami's rolling right now, man. So I think we go 1-2.
I'm gonna do the homer pick. I think we go 2-1. I think we beat Boston and Cleveland, and we lose to Miami again.
Yeah,
you're not seeing to beat them. I think the Cleveland game is going to be really close. Cleveland knows that their inside presence is superior with Mobley and Allen. Cleveland, man, we talk a lot about the Hornets' difficult strength of schedule. Cleveland's schedule was actually harder than the Hornets. Now, granted, they didn't play as many road games or as many Western Conference teams, but their overall strength of schedule was more difficult than the Hornets at the beginning of the season.
Yo, they've won 30 games, man. Shout out to JB Bickerstaff, man. That dude is doing hell.
You can't sleep on Cleveland. I do think the Hornets might be able to get him at home, however, particularly if Hayward or Oubre is back by then, which I expect them to both be back.
Yeah, and I think that is a big asterisk for this week. Quite honestly, man, because we've seen these last couple of games how important both of those gentlemen are. So we desperately need both of them back, man.
Yep. All right. playoff, something that's been on my mind. Okay,
so
so
what you got, bro?
So since the traditional playoff format has been altered and now we have a play-in, and for those, I'm sure all of our listeners understand how it goes, but for those who don't, it goes as such. The top 6 teams, their spots are protected and locked in. Teams 7 through 10, however, play a play-in tournament in order to determine their seeding. The 7th seed and the 8th seed will play each other. The 9th seed and the 10th seed play each other. The winner of the 7th and 8th seed game gets to keep the 7th seed. The loser of that game plays the winner of the 9th and 10th seed game
For the 8th seed.
For the 8th seed.
Yep.
So if the playoffs were to start today, Charlotte Hornets would play the Toronto Raptors in the first play-in game for the 7th seed. If the Hornets were to lose that game, they would then have to play Boston or Atlanta for the 8th seed.
Ouch.
Conversely, let's say the Hornets leapfrog Brooklyn somehow in the standings, Brooklyn or Cleveland or even Milwaukee, and get a 6th.
Or Philadelphia. Yeah.
We'd probably end up playing Philadelphia in the first round or Chicago. So, what do you feel more comfortable with? Do you feel more comfortable that the Hornets could win a play-in series against or play-in game against the Raptors, Celtics, or Hawks? Or do you think that it would be because consider this. Let's say that we get the 8th seed. We play the Heat in the first round. That's not now the Heat has our number, but that's not a terrible first round matchup.
I agree.
Would you rather play the Heat in the first round or the 76ers in the first round?
I would rather play the Heat.
Yeah, I'd rather play the Heat. I mean, if you get the 5th seed, you probably end up playing Milwaukee. That's a terrible matchup for the Hornets, although for some reason we've been able to play them pretty close. But I almost feel like it's more beneficial for the Hornets to make the play-in and
end up with the 8th seed.
Right. Well, or the 7th seed we play Chicago. Now, Chicago's a really good team, and I think they beat us in a series.
Hey, Kaza, I want to be very clear about something. I want to be very clear. I want no parts of Chicago. I'm sorry.
But would you rather play Chicago or Milwaukee?
Milwaukee. I'm clear about that. I'd rather play Milwaukee. Look, me and you both know the playoffs are a different beast than the regular season. But all we have to go off on is the regular season. Based off recent games in the regular season,
yeah, that's true.
I would much rather play Milwaukee. I would rather play Giannis. I would rather play playoff Giannis than to play the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
And let me say this, man. The Chicago Bulls, dude, they're so deep. Zach LaVine has been the Hornets killer since he was a damn rookie. DeMar DeRozan,
since before they were good.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. DeMar DeRozan, I don't know. This dude has had like a resurrection. Nick Vucevic, he's another Hornets killer. He's been killing us since the Orlando Magic days, man. So I say all that to say, just bad matchup. Worse matchup than the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I just think I'm looking at the standings and I'm like, man, I just don't know where the Hornets match up. Well,
hey,
in the top six.
You know what, Kaza? Here's where people are going to get mad at me. Here's where they're going to get mad at me when I say this. Whatever, as long as we're in the playoffs somehow, long as we're in whatever scenario you got, whatever happens after that, to me, it's fine.
Yeah, the goal of the season was just to make the playoffs.
That's my point. In terms of where we're at in the process, I want to make that very clear and put that in bold letters to people listening. In terms of where we're at in this process, making the playoffs is fine. Hey, if we win the series, look, I'll be on Trade and Tryon celebrating with y'all. But just making it is okay with me this year. It really is.
Hey, a first round matchup, Hornets and the Bulls, man, the media would eat that up. Lonzo versus LaMelo. I mean, that
absolutely
that would be prime time. Okay, on to the results for the starters and the captains for the All-Star team have been released. The Hornets do not have any starters. However,
Dear NBA, please stop the fan vote. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll give my thoughts on that in a minute. But however, LaMelo and Ball and Miles Bridges look to be two potential All-Star picks. Miles Bridges, and this is absolutely amazing to me. He only came in 9th in the fan vote, but he was 4th in player voting behind Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's kind of mind-blowing that the players said, and he had 46 votes, 46 starting votes from players. The players feel like, I mean, that was far. The next closest guy had 4. So the players are like, look, Miles Bridges need to be in All-Star. Unfortunately, the fans didn't see it that way. LaMelo Ball was 5th in player vote, and I'm sorry, 5th in fan voting, and 6th in player voting. It almost seems like a positive that LaMelo Ball is going to make the All-Star team. Miles Bridges, though, because of the fan vote, I think is the one that hangs in the balance.
Well, I think it bodes well that the players think so highly of both of them, because you gotta stand with the reserves. Don't the coaches pick the reserves? Is that still the process?
Yes, I think the coaches and the media.
Okay. With that being said, being that the players think so highly of both of those players, I think that actually bodes well for both players. Let me be very clear, man. Miles Bridges has a lot of competition in that Eastern Conference as far as a front court player. You know what I mean? It just is that it is what it is. But I could see Miles or Melo, either one, being kind of that 10th, 11th, 12th kind of player, having that roster spot on the reserve team. But it'll be tough, man. We'll see. I would love for both players to make the All-Star team, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be one or the other, man. And if I had to pick, I'd say probably – hold on. I'd say probably LaMelo, only because of lack of competition at the point guard position.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you say, okay, who are the best point guards in the Eastern Conference? LaMelo Ball's on your list.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to be. If you say, who are the best front court players in the Eastern Conference? Well, Miles Bridges might be on your list, but I mean,
but there's a lot, dude. There's Giannis, there's Bam Adebayo, there's Mark.
There's although I don't think Julius Randle is better, but you could put him in that conversation.
Miles showed us was better a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question. But Julius Randle has not had a terrible season. He just hasn't had a season he had, when he made the All-Star game. And I think that could hurt Miles Bridges. But I think the fact that the players think so highly of him bodes very well. And it would be something to get 2 All-Stars into the All-Star game. When was the last time that happened? Charlotte.
Oh my God.
LJ and Alonzo.
They had to be, right? Yeah, probably.
Maybe Glenn Rice, and did Eddie Jones make the All-Star team that year?
I don't think so, but I know Glenn Rice won the MVP of one of those All-Star games. So
yes, Glenn Rice did. Ought to be real interesting. I think we'll have a representative. I'm sure that Miles Bridges will get an invite to the dunk contest, which he will probably decline, and I think that he should, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
In fact, they've added a whole slate of extra stuff, and I kind of feel like the Hornets should decline those. Because LaMelo's going to get an invite to the Rising Stars game,
right?
And he'll probably be an All-Star.
Coincidentally, I think he should take that. But then again, if he's an All-Star, do you play in the Rising Stars game if you're an All-Star too?
Doncic did that. I'm pretty sure in his second year he played in both games.
LaMelo. Why not?
I got LaMelo Ball's going to. I mean, the more press he'll probably be in the skills challenge. He'll do everything. I think Miles Bridges should decline if he gets All-Star bid, he should decline the dunk contest.
I agree.
But yeah, that ought to be interesting All-Star weekend in Cleveland. Now we have to talk a little bit about the team that nobody in Charlotte likes right now. Surprisingly, it's not the soccer team. It is our NFL team, the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers have confirmed that I can't believe I'm even going to say this, but they have confirmed that they have hired Ben McAdoo as the new offensive coordinator. He has had stints with the New York Giants that didn't go so well. He was a quarterbacks coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars the previous year. He was a consultant, an offensive consultant for the Dallas Cowboys, whatever
that means. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, he does have a regular season, a head coaching record of 13-16. How do you feel about this?
All right. So when this news initially broke, I think I just dropped my phone and I just kind of stood there like, really? There was any more choices. But the more and more I thought about it, and the more and more I talked to some people that are close to the Giants and some people who are Giants fans, this is the spiel that I got from that. So apparently Ben McAdoo doesn't have the quote unquote people skills to be a head coach, much like a Larry Brown. However, he is praised by Eli Manning and he is praised by a lot of other coaches for his knowledge of the game, his knowledge of the NFL offense.
Okay.
So the more I thought about it, I said to myself, maybe this is not so bad. Because me and you both know there are certain coaches who are meant to be head coaches, and there are coaches who are meant to be coordinators.
Yes.
And the more I start reading about Ben McAdoo, I think he's just one of those guys. He actually may be pretty good for this team and may be a good fit as a coordinator. So, but here's what I'm worried about, Mr. Kaza. Here's what I'm really worried about. Is Mr. Rule going to give him the freedom to be the offensive coordinator he wants to be? Is he going to meddle? You know what I mean? Like for some reason, I can just picture a fallout by week 8, and I don't want to, but I'm kind of picturing that. So that's what I'm worried about when it comes to hiring Ben McAdoo. So to sum this up, man, the more and more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, maybe this is a good thing. We'll see.
No, yeah, hey, I gotta say, I don't know what the role of an offensive consultant is, but the Cowboys did have one of the best offenses in the league last season, and if he was part of that, I think it would be good to bring some of that to a team that has had a much aligned offensive presence in the NFL since the last 2 seasons. I'm just wondering though, whose hire was it? Was this a Tepper hire or was this Matt Rule hire? If it was a Matt Rule hire, that's one thing. But if Tepper was like, I'm going to poach really good talent from other teams and bring it here, how does Matt Rule feel about that?
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's what this is where this is. Yeah, as far as from a fan perspective, man, this is what we want more clarity on. I think everybody would like more clarity on who is calling the shots. Is it David Tepper? Is it Matt Rule? To me, personal opinion, and I want to be clear, no inside information. This is strictly opinion. From the looks of this, it looks more like a Tepper move.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, what do we say on this show when it comes to Matt Rule all the time? What's our 2 favorite words? College shit. All right? You're not going to tell me David Tepper doesn't look at this team every week and kind of says to himself, you know what, man, we need some adults on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Much like the Hornets need an adult on the court, David Tepper probably says, you know what, we need a real professional on this staff.
I don't think it's a coincidence that your main 3 guys, as far as on-field football goes, were college guys.
Right.
Yeah, guys that, although they had some NFL experience at lower levels, but as far as their first major gig, this was it. Yeah, Joe Brady had Phil Snow, and you had Matt Rule, and we saw so much college shit over the last 2 seasons because
so many missed opportunities. Yep.
Yeah, college guys in there running an NFL team, and I do think Tepper might have said, you know what, I mean, think about it. How many successful teams do that? Where like
Right.
their whole staff is comprised of college dudes leading an NFL. It doesn't happen. You might have a college head coach. You might have a Pete Carroll or Harbaugh, but even they had failures in the NFL prior to the level of success that they had in the NFL, because I think that those failures in the NFL taught them, this college shit ain't going to work.
Right.
So,
right.
I could certainly see Tepper saying, you know what, I'm going to go get McAdoo and we'll see what he can do with the offense.
Now, Kaiser, help me out, man, because I've been trying to think of this name for like a couple of weeks, and I can't think of this dude's name, man. But there was he was a head coach, and everybody used to praise him, for his offense. He's Todd Haley. This came to me, just like that. This reminds me of Todd Haley. Todd Haley, players hated this dude as a head coach. Nobody wanted to play for Todd Haley. Todd Haley goes to the Steelers. Man, their offense looks like night and day. He comes in and their offense is just on fire. This kind of reminds me of what that is. Hopefully, and I'm being hopeful, but let's hope we have our version of Todd Haley, basically.
What's Rod Chudzinski doing?
Dude,
I think he's with the Boston College. But he's not like an offense court. He's like a special assistant or something like that.
He's also like whatever McAdoo was doing. That's what he's doing at Boston College.
I wonder, did he get blackballed? Because so he was with the Panthers for 2 seasons. We had a really good offense with rookie Cam Newton.
Right.
It was so good that other teams sought to hire him as a head coach. He gets 1 season with
Kaiser. You're about to answer your own question. Kaiser. Coaches go to Cleveland to die.
It's crazy, but you would think that would help, where people would say, "Oh, well, hey, it was Cleveland."
Right. I agree.
I don't know. All I'm gonna say about Ben McAdoo is objectively, I think this might be a really good move. Actually, better than what we had before. At least we probably won't see as much college shit out of the offense.
Yeah.
And I think it does show. I think Tepper and Matt Rule too. They want to show, okay, guys, we are now focused on the offense. We realize that was our major area of deficiency last season. And we told everyone, hey, we wanted to get the defense right. The defense is right. Now we're focusing on the offense. And so let's go. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw like an all offense draft.
Yeah. Hopefully most of that is on the offensive line, but yeah.
We'll see. What I don't want them to do. I don't want them to just be drafting O linemen like just because.
Right. Hey, here's such and such out of Livingstone College just because he's a big left tackle.
Just draft good players, okay?
I mean, but and look, that time is coming when we're really going to get in the draft talk and the heavy draft talk. We're going to save some, man. But do you agree with me on this right here, man? As much as the glaring hole on this team is offensive line, and everybody talks about how dysfunctional the offense is, which is all true. With all that being said, I would not be mad if there was some free safety out there that the Panthers say, that guy's pretty good, let's go with him, or middle linebacker. I think those are two position upgrades we can use too.
I feel like in the first round, you should never draft for need if BPA is there. Yeah. That's player available always. I mean, we saw. I'll never forget when we drafted Luke Kuechly. Boy, people was mad, which is weird because people in the Carolinas, they act like they love, and they do. Everyone loves Luke Kuechly. Everyone loves Luke Kuechly. But some of y'all, maybe not people watching this show, but some of y'all out there in Pantherland were upset.
I remember.
Upset that we did not draft the offensive line.
I am not going to say any names, but if she is watching, I remember somebody was like, I don't know if he's that good. We should have got Fletcher Cox. That's the one. That's the name everybody wanted. Fletcher Cox, the D lineman. I forget where school he went to, but he's with the Eagles now. Very good player. I told people, I said, because listen, I'm a Florida State fan. I hate to admit that these days, but I saw a lot of Luke Kuechly at Boston College. There was a game he had 22 tackles against. I said, that guy's different right there. And I remember distinctly how mad people were. So don't come up here and act like y'all wasn't mad. I remember.
Yeah, so it just goes to show in the first round, sometimes you gotta say, look, hey, that's gonna be a special player. If that special player is there, then you take him. So I feel kind of the same way about J.C. Horn, actually. I think J.C. Horn is gonna be
I'm really excited for him to come back, man.
That's why I'm not too upset that we didn't take Rashawn Slater. I mean, that would have been a great pick as well. I think just the fact that J.C. Horn was injured this season kind of clouds people's vision when it comes to. I
really think J.C. Horn could be a game changer. I think he could really be that type of quarterback. Man, I really do, man. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Yeah.
All right, that'll take us to the end of the show. Shout outs, shout ats.
I got a shout at, man. I'm shouting at the Hornets today. That was an unprofessional performance today, man. Y'all were better than that. Do better. Like, hey, look, man. It was 22 degrees last night. Stay your ass in the house and play Call of Duty or something.
Stay away from the sex parties. We have not addressed the sex parties here on Under Construction because it's salacious, and that's not really what we do here. We're not
so dirty.
Yeah, we don't gossip here, but it's now known knowledge that the Hornets, they have a little fun with Instagram models. Look,
I think that's pretty common knowledge, actually.
yeah, it is. We know what's going on, and hey, I get it. You're young, you're millionaires. You want to have a sex party? That's cool, but you got a game at 1 p.m. You got a game at 1 p.m. The Clippers didn't have a sex party, so.
Like I said earlier in the show, professionalism starts off the court, y'all.
True.
So if you're wondering why some of your favorite players ain't entering the game when you want them to and they ain't getting the playing time you want to, maybe it starts off the court. You never know.
The coaches know all of that stuff. They know. Absolutely. They know. Trust me on that. Yeah. So I'm gonna give a shout at to the baby.
What now?
So he was at the Lakers game, courtside, him and his homie, and they both received a warning card from the referees and security because
that's happened to me before.
For acting a fool. But see, here's the thing, like that we've seen, especially in recent games, fans getting kicked out for the players asking fans to get kicked out, which is acting a fool. And someone as high profile as the baby getting a warning card, I think other fans look at that and say, if that guy wasn't a famous Grammy Award winning rapper, would he have got kicked out or would he have gotten a warning card?
Right.
You know? And I don't know what went down or what was said for him to get the warning card, but like you're like the representative of Charlotte. Media,
pop culture,
dude.
Right,
better, man. Do better. Now he could have said something that was just like innocuous, and they just overreacted. I'll give him that much credit.
So let me share my red card experience with you. Here's what I think. This is just opinion, man, and I don't like this. Let me be very clear about this, man. I think because I got a red warning card because I had some good seats. And the referee sucked, and I let them know that they sucked. I was letting the referee know that he sucked the entire game. And I guess one instance I got really loud, and I said, "You suck at this game, and you suck at life." So some security dude walks up, he hands me the little red laminated card, and I'm thinking to myself, like, now does New York and Philly get these red laminated cards? You
couldn't print enough of those things,
right? So I'm not going to be too hard on the baby, seeing that I don't know exactly what he said or did. But I just know it didn't take very much for me to get the red lemon, and I'm far from a celebrity. So I'm just saying
that with this recent trend of player and fan interactions, there's a line, and if fans cross that line, I'm okay with it. But sometimes I don't think fans cross that line, and it just when the Knicks and Pacers, we're 90s kids,
Yeah.
80s and 90s kids. So we remember those Knicks and Pacers battles. It seemed like every year for like 4 Saturdays, you was in front of the TV and you was like, yes, Knicks, Pacers.
Not just wins the game, wins the fight.
Yeah. And part of that was you knew Spike Lee was going to be on the sidelines talking trash, and that made the game that much more entertaining. Imagine, the choke game without Spike Lee sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
And to me, that interaction is part of what makes the NBA entertaining. I feel like if you take that away, then you lose a little bit of the game. You really do. And I hope that the players aren't feeling like so offended. If they're talking about, apparently LeBron James, I hope your kid dies. Okay, that's too much. Line. That's the line. Right. Don't go over that line. But if someone's just trolling you all game about how trash you are, how you can't play defense, well, you gotta suck that up.
And look, it's no surprise that the 90s guys, Shaq and Barkley, were like, hey man, you gotta have tough skin, man.
Yeah. And even me, I mean, it's hard for me to say what I would do in that situation. Maybe it's because I'm in the military and I'm used to people talking shit about your mama and your kids all the time. But I'm a professional athlete, and what I'm gonna cry about at my Lamborghini. I don't, dude. You paid to see me. You paid to see me.
Right. You're in that seat watching me.
Yeah. You gave me money to see me play. I could care less what you say. Get your money's worth, bro. While I drop 35 on your team,
right?
And watch the YouTube highlights and be safe. So.
Anyway, man, it's been fun, bro. As always.
That's gonna do it for us this week, y'all. Hopefully the Hornets don't have any sex parties this week and get right.
Yeah, hopefully they're professionals this week.
Come on, y'all. Y'all gotta do better.
Y'all gotta do better, man.
We'll have something good to talk about next week. You guys be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. It's cold and it's icy. Drive like you got some damn sense.
I mean, please.
Good Lord, man. God.
Especially if you're on 277. God.
Yeah, y'all crazy. It's not. Yeah. We'll see y'all later. Y'all take care of each other.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Who you got today? Before we go, football. Who you got today? Now, Chiefs are already up. But who you got today?
I have picked Chiefs 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Those are my picks.
So that's
Just an update. Chiefs up 21-10. So there's that, man. But yeah, I just want to get the picks, man. Y'all go watch some football. We about to get out of here. I'm about to do the same, man. Y'all be easy, y'all. Peace out.